Ladies and gentlemen, ATDF everything in that shelf presentation. You're now rocking with TDF everything. Spoiled rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hey.
It's me, Daniel,
And this is bad.
on Spoiled Rotten.
On that shelf.
Boom. This is episode 6 of Moon Knight, Gods and Monsters. If you look on IMDb, but not Disney Plus yet, or maybe it's updated by the time you're listening to this.
Disney Plus has episode 6, and I thought they were being metaphorical with that.
No, well, yeah. So I looked on IMDb. It says Gods and Monsters. That makes sense.
There we go. That makes much more sense. I like
Well,
that much, much better.
So this episode starts with Harrow in what we can assume is the real world, collecting Mark out of the place that he shot him from,
Yes.
and he gets Amit's Ushabti, and it's like, well, he did it, he got it. Great. Then we move on to Tawedit. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I'm sorry. She's basically, Harrow's leading like this convoy back into Cairo, I think.
Mhm.
And he gets stopped. He does his thing, and so he kills a bunch of people.
Mhm.
And Tawedit is able to speak to Layla through a dead body and be
Mhm.
like, "Look, don't go after him right now. You're not ready. You need Mark's help. You got to go get Khonshu so he can even the odds."
Yeah. And she's like, no, I'm not going to. Oh, well, yeah. Tawedit, yeah. Tawedit's like, yeah, go get him. Like, it's.
But I think she's like, "It's fine. I'll find him on my own." And it's like,
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we got to pad this out.
Yeah. I mean, like,
I did like the visual of Tawedit taking over the dead body. Like, I was like, I can't tell if this person's just a really good physical actor or if they're doing CGI, but it was an interesting look for him.
it felt like a really, really good. I'm assuming it was a good physical performance.
Yeah.
But it was really, really well done. Like, I was like just watching it, I was like, this is so funny and it's just so good at the same time. Because like he's trying to do the hand mannerisms as well at the same time. I'm like, I didn't know the avatars could take for dead bodies, which is a good thing to know.
I mean,
for later on in the episode.
Whatever they need to happens
Right.
in this show. I don't know if there was ever any hard and fast rules.
Well, yeah, that's true. Fair. Like,
Seems
what
to
is
be
the
like-
extent of their powers?
Nothing is set in stone in that. It's just whatever the show needs, which I don't have a problem with, but it leads me to be like, I don't know.
I genuinely hope the nothing is set in stone is a pun for later. Yeah,
No.
I went there.
Nothing is set in stone. Everything is subject to be broken out of stone.
That's right.
Or
That's right.
sand. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I guess the show's deeper than I thought. Yeah. So Amit. Whoa, I missed the part. Yeah. So basically, I forgot to say that Tawedit also proposes that Layla become her avatar.
Mhm.
And that scene. I think that's kind of what puts Layla off. Of like, I don't really think being an avatar works well for people. So I'm gonna do this on my own for now.
Yep.
And then we see Harrow actually break out Amit,
Mhm.
and she's kind of like, all right, who do I have to thank for this? Also, it's important to note, I guess, that he does this in the place where the Iliad meets, and it does not seem like Osiris is on board with it. Like, in fact, I'm pretty
Yes.
sure Osiris's avatar gets killed in the process
Yeah.
eventually. Like, he's injured, and then I think he dies. So I don't know what they were playing at earlier in the show then, because I was like,
Yeah.
that only really worked for me when I thought they were all in on this together. But
I agree.
it's
I
not-
thought at least Osiris was, not the whole Iliad, but at
Yeah.
least Osiris was. But like
At
the
the
whole
very
point
least.
of bringing it all up and then like making it look that way and then like putting in a little bit of like slime was, to me, weird to not follow through with any of it. Like I'd be like, oh, okay, Osiris is going to give the secret handshake now, and this is going to be great. But nope, none of that happened.
Yeah. So
It was very unfortunate.
Amit's out, and she's kind of like, who do I have to thank for this? Harrow, again, surprising to me, is really about that life. I thought he was just kind of like, whatever, man, this is how I can get my vendettas out. But he really was like, it was me, but like, don't worry about it. Like, you don't owe me anything. I'm just here for you. And she's like, your scales are unbalanced. And he's like, then kill me. I was like, wow, oh, he really means this. Like, he's not.
Yeah.
I know that was the point of showing him put glass in his feet, but I can't. He says what I thought. Like, he's like, yeah, I just thought that would make up for what I lacked doing stuff like that. And he's like, but it doesn't. So kill me. I'm not worried about it either way. And I was just, wow, all right, good for him. He's really about that life.
Yeah, he's committed to that. Like he's the cult leader. He's the first one to drink the Kool-Aid in the cult.
Yeah. So then Amet is kind of like, nah, it's fine. Like last time I had an avatar,
it's fine.
Well, she's kind of just like, well, last time I had
yeah.
someone who had their scales balanced, I still ended up entrapped for thousands of years. So this is fine. And it seems to me like she's basically saying like, you're always going to be working for my approval. So I'd rather you than someone who's got their shit together.
Right, which makes sense to me. Yeah, like if you're actually going to serve me, then you're going to serve me.
Yes. So that works out. Or I guess realistically, it's whatever for Harrow. He's like, I was willing to die, but I'm not. Okay, cool. I'm your avatar. Great.
Right.
Then Layla releases Khonshu, and he asks her to be his avatar. Like Layla is in demand.
She's in demand. She's in demand.
Yeah.
She must be part of ZipRecruiter.
Yes, exactly.
ZipRecruiter sponsors this episode of Disney Plus, not this episode of our podcast.
So Layla's like, no, not into it. Mark didn't trust you, so I don't trust you. Great. That's that.
Yep.
And as we find out later in the show, it didn't really matter to Khonshu anyway.
That was, oh god.
So
I'm glad we're getting there now because I want to talk about it.
So now we're back in the field of reeds, and Mark is like, this is actually peaceful. Tawedit is like, yep, great, right? And he's like, no, I should go get Steven. I figured that's what was going to happen.
Literally turns around, walks 2 steps, and is gone.
He just gets there, which is fine because,
well, I guess the decision to leave is more tapped in than anything else. So
also,
the
it's
actual...
not a physical place, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just, so it doesn't really. That part doesn't matter as much. It's more, yes, that he had what his intention was. But yeah, so Mark has this heart to heart with Steven, basically being like, I survived because I knew I wasn't alone. That's you never abandoned me. There's no way in hell I'm going to abandon you.
I like how he says the superhero thing.
I did not like that.
You didn't like that?
I'm not a fan of being like this thing that people have to live with, if you want to call it an ailment, that stuff that needs to be treated. That's the superpower. Like when they do that with people with autism and stuff, I'm like,
right,
I understand the point of what he's saying, but I think the way it's written,
you think it's gonna give too much lenience to that?
Yeah, I think and the reason I say that is because they're trying to do this dump here. I don't think last episode was enough for me to just give them this moment. I don't think it is actually earned. It's what we were talking about, right? Like, I understand the point of this scene, which is he's finally made peace and he recognizes what Steven has done for him, not what his purpose in that sense, but just what Steven has done for him.
Yes.
But it is a one-way conversation. We know, because when Steven gets out of it, he's like, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, oh, well, I had a whole speech and everything. So it's not actually something that they work on together in that sense. And I feel like it should be more Steven like not coming to terms, but Steven working towards Mark, because I feel like we can just assume, yeah, Mark always knew what Steven did for him, but never said it. So I don't feel like he kind of went on a journey. Whereas Steven, as we mentioned last episode, had his whole world blown up and then got frozen, and then wakes up and someone's like, "So I love you." You get it? So I think that's why that line also bumped up against me, because it was in a moment where I'm like, I don't think they've earned this. I think they've jumped to this. They do that a lot in this episode, but I didn't feel like they actually went on the journey. I saw what they did last episode, don't get me wrong, but that was so much of Steven actually realizing what his life has been. And so I kind of would have appreciated Steven getting a chance to work through that instead of this way.
Yeah. If we're looking at it from the perspective of, okay, while he was dying, he knew what happened, and then the act of being it's just weird what happens with the stone, right? It's like, okay, it implies more of, oh, okay, you're not actually dead, you're paused, and then that was a way to unpause it, so to speak, because your consciousness is revived.
I think what happened was Osiris gave them a second chance. I think
fair enough.
It's like that one line that Soedit says when she comes with the boat. She goes, "Osiris, you old softy." So nothing is said explicitly, but that line led me to believe that he just saw that moment and also was probably feeling vindictive since he got killed. His avatar got killed, not Osiris, but Osiris's avatar got killed. He's probably thinking like, well, yeah, we need more avatars, which is what his avatar on Earth said, which was like, if you need, like, we need more. So I think he saw this as, well, there will be Layla, and then there'll be this system, which is Mark and Steven that we know of. That is what I think actually happened. I don't think it was just, oh, they really believed hard and then the rules changed. I do think it was Osiris stepping in and giving them a chance. But
I do believe that Osiris stepped in, gave him a chance for sure. But it was the weird part about this episode was the sequencing that he revives and Osiris is still alive, or is he dying at this point? Like, that's still not clear to me, right? Because
nothing happened to Osiris, just his avatar.
Right. No, that I understand that, but like, I guess it wouldn't have an impact on the sequence of events or anything like that if it was his avatar or like, yeah, okay, fair enough.
That's why I specified that it was his avatar.
Weird part about this, like sand ocean wave thing that was crashing. I don't understand why that happened. He's like, you got a second chance, but now like there's this thing crashing down and you can't walk there. You have to I didn't know, what was that related? Where did that come from?
No, I don't know. It doesn't really matter.
I thought what would naturally happen is like more of those like beasts or whatever from the sands would like leap or attack them or whatever, but like no, it was literally the sands themselves trying to swallow them up. So it was weird to me. I don't get it, but again, there's a lot of this show that bends its own rules, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason.
I thought you just
there's no reason to lose any sleep over it. Moving on, so Mark and Steven are back in the body. Khonshu senses him, and I'm assuming all we're doing is hearing what happened the first time. I don't know if Khonshu is saying it again or not, but we're
reading the dialogue.
And they have the cool shot of the bullets coming out of him, and he is good to go as Moon Knight.
Yeah, that part didn't make sense to me. I didn't know if that was just live again. Okay, you didn't pay off your debt, so I technically get to go back into your body, and you're automatically my avatar. I don't know if that was the case or what happened there, but
no, that was the plan. Unleash Khonshu so that he can make Mark his avatar again.
Right.
That's why they made a point of showing you
Mark live like that. Just small breath, right? It was just that small breath, and then Khonshu was able to do it.
Hold on, should we pause because you're cutting out a lot? I don't know if you need to
Mhm.
restart or something or
It looks good.
okay. Because yeah, I feel like people might
Now.
miss some of the things you're saying.
It was a little it was a bit unstable earlier. Don't know if that's going to change much of it. All right, let's see if that's going to help. Okay, seems to be a bit better now.
Okay. Yeah, so Ahmed and Khonshu are fighting. Or no, sorry, yeah. Harrow does the thing where Layla calls out to Tawedit calls out to Layla, and Harrow kind of breaks things, and we have the not funny, just really interesting acting from May Kalamawi of going between Tawedit taking over her body and her kind of being like, yeah, let's do this thing. And then she becomes Tawedit's avatar, and that's great. Layla, Mark, Steven, they all fight Harrow while Ahmed and Khonshu fight. It's kind of this big showdown, like we said would happen last episode. We were kind of like, this is what will happen.
Yeah, and I kind of hate that we were right.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. And then
it is what it is. I kind of hate.
So then Mark, it's the moment we always talk about, like the all is lost moment. Mark's pinned down, so is Layla for all intents and purposes, and Khonshu, and Mark disassociates in that moment, and we do a cut like we're used to, and he wakes up right as he's holding Harrow, and basically it seems like he's killed everybody. And they're ready to trap Ahmed again because they've got her immortal form in the form of Harrow as an avatar, and yeah, she goes back in very quickly, and then Khonshu's like, "All right, now kill her." And Mark's like, "Nah, not into it."
No, not gonna do it. No.
And Khonshu says, "Fine, you can leave." I can't remember the wording in this moment, but obviously, based on the post credit, he must have just said, "You two can go," meaning Mark and Steven. So they're out. And then we go to that scene where it's we go to that scene where basically it's Harrow and Steven at first, but then Steven changes accents. And they're kind of just like, yeah, we're gonna save the world. We're rejecting
dimension
this
or
concept. I don't know. So that he just kind of like, yeah, we're
then
sorry,
and then he just like wakes again, like immediately after that.
Yeah, he wakes up and
it's weird.
He's strapped to the bed again. So I listened to the interview that the Ringerverse had with Jeremy Slater, which ultimately was like, I guess what they wrote isn't what it's not what Oscar Isaac performed. So he was like, well, we would look at it and he's like, oh, he's doing another alter, but the scene is just supposed to be Mark, or this, meaning that's why the director Mohammed Diab said no when people were like, oh, was that Jake in episode 5 with the bruise? Because that wasn't, I mean, based on the post credit, I can see why you would be like, no, that's not Jake, because Jake in the post credit just speaks Spanish. Doesn't mean he can't speak anything else, but it seems like an odd choice to confirm this is Jake and then never have him speak English.
Yeah.
Meaning Oscar kind of just did what he wanted. Fair enough. as I said, I've kind of just thrown thrown in my heads of like, yeah, I guess they just do whatever they want. I don't. Um, but if you're talking to the writers and directors, Jake was only seen, and I'm not saying he didn't have a presence throughout the show, but he was only seen for the first time in that post-credit scene.
Right, but like his,
But I
I get
believe
the
that whenever
result of
we
his
see,
actions were,
yes,
yeah, fair.
that's what
Yeah,
I believe.
okay, fair. Yeah. Oh yeah, like I think that the Swiss Alps, as well
Mhm.
as the in Egypt, in Cairo, on the rooftops, that definitely was Jake. The
Yeah.
way the murders happened,
I believe that's the case, and
it was so much gorier.
mhm. So I believe that's the case, and that I guess Oscar Isaac was just having fun in those other scenes where we thought it would. I mean, that doesn't mean he only has 3 alters, but again, what Jeremy Slater said was that he saw this as a story about Mark and Steven.
Right.
Meaning if I'm taking that, then we only ever see the 2 alters and then hint at the effects of what Jake has done and other things until we see him in the post credits. That is how I take what Jeremy Slater said, which is we wanted to focus on these 2 characters, Mark and Steven.
Right, which makes a lot of sense. And like at last, I think we say this episode, or did they say it like after we stop reading, where I'm like, yeah, most likely we're gonna see Jake confirmed in a post-credit scene or something like that.
Yeah.
Boom, this is exactly what it is. Cool. It was awesome. Yeah, this episode to me is just so, it's pulling in so many different directions, and I'm just trying to understand, like when you last episode when you like said someone understood this good as like layers of inception and stuff like that. I'm looking at it as like, okay, these are like separate stories. Here's the dream dimension, here them together into this story and all this kind of stuff. It's so messy. Like seeing the whole thing now is, and just wanting to rewatch it. And I did the other day while doing some renos, watching the whole series, episode 1-5, and seeing the whole thing a lot dicier than I originally thought it was. You know,
It's dicey.
Yeah, it's dicey. It's pulling in so many different directions. None of it's like really connecting. And I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I that is what my fear was.
The final product didn't shine through as well as I was hoping.
No, I think we talked about my issues is that nothing felt grounded in a reality. Everything felt like it was just whatever they wanted to do in the moment. And that makes something like this in particular hard to nail the landing, because I can't look at it and be like, well, they were always trying to do this thing, or they were always trying to, it's like, to say like this is not a knock on his acting. Yeah, that was great act. I think everyone acts really well in this, but if you are serious about being like, well, I guess Oscar's doing a bit of this alter now, but we wrote it as just a scene with Mark, or we wrote it as just a scene with Steven, then like I don't know what to tell you. Like that's rough. That's it's hard to then have a grasp on what's going on here.
It's so hard to have a grasp, because the few times, it was only in episode 5 that you would remotely even think it was Jake, except for those like snapshots where it confirms like, oh, who was that? Was that you? Was that you? No, who was that? Kind of thing. Like they did that, I think, twice in the whole the one Swiss Alps thing, you're just led to believe that it's Mark that took over and killed all the village people and all that kind of stuff, or all the followers or whatever it was. But it's just pulling in so many different directions. There is something that's grounded in reality, but because of the jumps that are within that grounded reality, it's so difficult to interpret what's actually happening. Because, like at the end of it, when he's in bed again, I'm like, okay, there's no presence of Layla, there's no whatever. It's a show it's kind of trying to bring that whole idea of the what you're saying about the comics, where like you're never really supposed to know if anything truly happened or not, but still giving us a sense of this is what did happen,
Mhm.
but the details are glamorified or
Well, it's more just for the
made
Lemire run.
exuberant or whatever, and it's just such a frightening thing.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
the Lemire run, it was more just like, oh, this is the personal growth that
Mm.
our protagonists have.
Mhm.
So it's not really relevant if he actually punched this person or did this. It's more, as we talked about last episode, dealing with someone with DID and seeing them come to a certain point of peace. Not again, not saying like they were cured, but that they stop fighting themselves.
Right.
And I think that's the important part of the Lemire run. If I have to go, again, this isn't me saying I particularly love it. I think it works for people, but it's not my cup of tea. And I think up until this episode, I would have said, yeah, like the show does it better. And I think the show still does do certain things better for my taste, but it is still heavily grounded in what you just said, which is like everything is kind of like, well, did that really happen or did that really happen? And that's not the kind of story I like to engage with. I like to know that there is, even if it's not explicitly said, I like to know that there's breadcrumbs for me to be like, well, then this is what actually happened. Even if I have to figure it out, I'd like to know that the filmmakers, the people making the TV show left those crumbs there for me to have that answer, even if they don't explicitly say it. Which maybe that's the case here, but I don't know. It doesn't feel that way.
I feel like it's a media it's the content
Sorry.
wanted us to like re-examine. Are we going to watch it? I feel like this is a piece of content that because now that it's out, they're planning to get us to revisit it, be like, okay, what was the reality? What's made up, so to speak? What was exaggerated? What, like, all that kind of stuff. It's just going to be, I don't think as many people are going to do that with this now that it's fully out.
I don't even think that's what they're asking you to do. I just think
like
it's weird to end on him. Well, not the post credit, just ending on him in bed and falling to the ground. Like, yeah, like there's no sign of Layla. We don't know what's happening there. Why is he chained up? Unless they're saying that was their hint again, that like Jake ties him up, like that, and then, but I do think that the show is saying the reality is that he's Moon Knight and he fought Harrow, and because otherwise the post-credit scene doesn't really work. But Harrow ended up in that institution, and
it doesn't work. Yeah,
Khonshu gets him out, and Jake kills him. So I do think that's real. I don't think it's as. That's why I said it does things for me better than the comics, because I think it's very clear what happened. I just think they've confused the issue with that last scene. I think it was a bit too much. Either end it with him walking away and then do the post credit, or because I think the visual of that, or like the cinematic language of that, him dropping to the ground is oh, none of that happened. It's all in his head, which I don't think is the case. But I don't know why they would confuse the issue by doing that.
Yeah, it's really weird. You know what it feels like? It feels like it's giving us a whole bunch of different endings that we can follow, that whichever one we want to. It feels weird. It's like, is he actually in clinical therapy? Is he actually in a dream? Is he actually this? Is he actually this? Pick your own adventure. But either way, Harrow is actually dying. The Khonshu part is real. So that part's fun, I guess. It's weird.
Yeah, I've seen some people react in like the Jake sequence. It's fine, as I said. This Yeah, it's hard to speak about because I feel like I've already said what I didn't like about it, and nothing really changed in this episode. So I don't want to like repeat everything.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, do you want to just rate this as a whole?
The whole series as a whole. Yeah, I've been thinking long and hard about it all day about like if we were to come down to rating it as a whole, what it would come down to.
What
And
did
for
it come
me, it'd
down
be a
to?
6.5.
A
6.5.
6.5. Yeah, I'd probably give it a 7.
Yeah.
I think I enjoyed certain aspects of it. Like in a vacuum, certain episodes are good. I don't think it came
Mhm.
together as a whole,
Mhm.
but also I admire some of the stuff they were trying to tackle.
Mhm.
So it makes it to me better than Hawkeye. But still, and I only bring that up because we're just talking about the different Disney Plus shows. But like yeah, so I think it seems as successful to me as Hawkeye, but at least they were trying something. So I put it above that. Like that's where the extra 0.5 comes for me, which is like, yeah. They tried something.
Mhm.
Or even the moment, people might not like it, but where the girl that Layla saves is like, wait, are you an Egyptian superhero? And she's like, I am. I'm like, yeah, I like that. That's cool that that person gets that moment. I mean, the kid. I don't really know like what Layla's future is. I hope she comes back, but yeah, they kind of left her in a weird place of just like, yeah. But I think, yeah, you're 6.5. I'm a 7 on the show.
Yeah, they left her in a weird place because they left her in a place of does she even exist? Because it's just like, well, if she exists, why is Mark or Steven back at the apartment? You know what I mean? If they used to live there not too far ago, like, are they remarried? Like, what's going on there? Like, I don't know what's going on. It's there's so many of these things that's just like, wait, did this actually happen? Did this actually happen? And I'm like, I don't like that.
Yeah,
I don't like it at all.
This is what I've said about reading the comics, so that doesn't work for me. And they kind of brought that into the show as well.
But I do like the reasoning you put out there for your rating. Yeah. I love the reasoning for your rating though. Like it is probably as cohesive as Hawkeye, but like they genuinely which is much better than what Hawkeye actually did. Yeah, they took a swing. They did. They got a passing grade. Like I would watch it again just because like at this point I genuinely being like, okay, what am I trying to be at halfway? What's going on? Does he only turn into Jake when it blacks out on top of the eye thing? Does it turn into Jake and like he turned to Steven when it's only even within a few episodes it's been inconsistent. So I don't know if it's worth going through there, but I will watch this again. I will not watch Hawkeye again because like you said, this took a swing and I want to see if there's something here that I missed.
Yeah. I mean,
by the end of this, it
could be good to revisit. Yeah. I guess this is just a shorter one because it was like we kind of called what would happen in this episode, and then it did happen.
So I guess there's not much to last episode is what we're saying because we did a good job calling it. Yeah, we did a great job calling it, being like, this is what's going to happen next episode, even though we didn't intend to do that. But I mean, when I saw Layla turn into Scarlet Scarab, which is the superheroine name of that, I guess, alter, whatever that persona is. But
did they say that? Because that's not who Scarlet is. That's not the Scarlet Scarab is. So I think she's just a net new character.
Well, I think people are saying that Scarlet Scarab. Really? I think people are saying that it's Scarlet Scarab and that they are trying to rewrite that history because Scarlet Scarab is like a villain person.
Well, he's not a villain. He fought for Egypt against the invaders. I mean, yes, back then when they wrote it, but like it's more like he was trying to stop a team called the Invaders from invading Egypt. And I think what they're doing here is being like, let's have an Egyptian hero. She might turn out to be a Scarlet Scarab, but it just didn't. It seems like in this phase of MCU, they actually just call it out. Like, as we saw, like Sam doesn't just get the shield; he gets called Captain America. Wanda isn't just called Wanda, and she's called the Scarlet Witch. It feels like they would have said something about being the Scarlet Scarab here. I'm not saying she's not. I'm just saying, like, I understand that people have projected that, but I don't. They didn't say it, and it's part of the whole, like, yeah, that was a weird ending for Layla.
Fair enough, but I the symbolism of the costume seems to scream Scarab to me, at least.
I mean, I didn't really get Scarab from her costume, but sure.
Really?
No, she
looks cloth.
She just
it looks
kind of like Wonder Woman
cloth.
in Wonder Woman 1984, like when she had her gold things. She even had this X move. She looked like Falcon while she was flying. It wasn't even like a fluttering like a Scarab would. Nothing about it screamed Scarab, other than I know there's a character called Scarlet Scarab, and she has a similar last name.
It's the idea that she does fly exactly like Falcon, has a lot of those similar moves. It was a little funny to me because I'm like, wait a minute, Miss Marvel's powers just because of Mr. Fantastic, or like the similarity thing, which I'm fine with. I'm totally on board with, but I'm like, but this is the Falcon skill set.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I hope we see. I did see someone point out that Marvel tweeted out this is the series finale, but then like 20 minutes later tweeted out season finale. So hopefully they are going to do more, and we can have a bit more insights into Layla, because I think that's a character both of us really like. But yeah, that's the show. We'll hopefully we have more to say about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness on Monday. But yeah, that's going to be the next episode. This episode is kind of going out with a fizzle, unfortunately. Well, thank you very much for listening.
It's because this yeah
thank you. We are part of the That Shelf podcast network with other great shows like Bad Game Movies, Changing Reels, Black Hole Films. So please go to thatshelf.com. You'll find those shows, our show, more shows. If you want to hear older episodes of Spoiled Rotten, please go to tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten. Our email is spoiledpodcast@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @tdfspoiled. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, a whole bunch of places. So please rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends, and do get in touch with us. Let us know how you felt about the season or this episode, any episode really. Yeah, we'll be back on Monday. This comes out on a Thursday, but we'll be back on Monday for Doctor Strange too.
That's right, double header.
Hey.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.